Hi, this is Trent Nelson, and somebody wanted me to keep talking about body language and specific diagnoses of and symptoms and how that might relate to the mind-body connection and alternative health and alternative ways of looking at particular symptoms and diagnoses. So I'm happy to do that, and somebody wanted to know about Parkinson's and what Parkinson's as a diagnoses might mean. So all diagnoses need to be looked at for what symptoms are presenting, because just because somebody has a similar diagnosis as somebody else, they can present completely different symptoms. So you have to look at the symptoms. So let's look at the average symptoms of Parkinson's. So Parkinson's people oftentimes have either tremors or shakes, and find their motor nerve skills tend to be very shaky, and oftentimes they will have a hand that shakes, or they also get what looks like to be kind of a mask appearance in their face, so and other places in the body, but most particularly presenting on the face. So somebody asked me, well, can you actually heal Parkinson's? Could a person with Parkinson's heal themselves? And the answer is absolutely. So the body heals itself. Everybody has gotten sick or had a cold, didn't do anything about it except for maybe take it easy for a couple of days, and the body corrected itself, and you didn't have the cold anymore. So Parkinson's and the body shows oftentimes through the symptoms what is needed in order for the body to be allowed to heal itself. So Parkinson's people who are shaking, oftentimes there's also a rigidity to their muscles, and it's because there is such a tendency for being tense, and the muscles have been tensed for so long, which could also be trying to prevent oneself from growing, squeezing the muscle so that it's tense too often. So if a muscle is squeezed long enough, and you can even try this and to see that what I'm saying is accurate, if I squeeze my muscle, if I flex my arm or my hand long enough, what starts to happen to it? It starts to shake. The reason it starts to shake is because the body can't hold a contraction for that long before it starts to shake and tremor. So a person who, let's say, has tried to contain themselves or control themselves for a very long period of time, or let's say that there's somebody who was given attention for being like a child, and that person decided, aha, if I get attention for being like a child, then let's say a movie star who was given a lot of attention for being the star as a child, and let's say that they decide, I get my attention when I act like a child or when I am like a child. And oftentimes even with actors and particular types of people that are given credit or they're given attention for looking very youthful, people who are trying to contain themselves from growing, the body over a period of time, that trying to hold oneself back or to hold oneself down actually causes the muscles in the body to get rigid. And sometimes there's also an associated frustration or anger that's underlying the muscle tension. And so oftentimes people who have Parkinson's, there's also a tendency for them to have an unresolved amount of anger in their structure, in their emotional structure. And because they haven't explored that, they haven't felt that or expressed that, then it finds its way into the muscle tissue. And if I stay, I'm not going to grow, I'm not going to grow. I got to stay young, I got to stay young. Or I'm so angry, but I can't let anybody know it. The body senses that rigidity, and what happens is over a period of time, I can't hold that rigidity any longer, and so I start to shake, and these are the symptoms. If you look at the body language and what the body is trying to say, you can see that the body is trying to tell the person what needs to happen in order to heal this. And it sounds so simple and it sounds so easy, like, well, why haven't we figured this out? And there's a lot of medication, and there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies make money from the medication, so this information oftentimes is suppressed. So, but a person, if you start to see the body wants to shake, well, what do the muscles want to do? They want to let go. The person wants to move more. You'll oftentimes see people with Parkinson's, they're trying to stop the tremors. You even see them holding the shaking arm or the shaking limb in order to try to control themselves. And the body wants the opposite. So if that person can create an environment for themselves, a safe environment, with a good therapist who understands this concept that the muscles are trying to free themselves, that if they can be allowed to express that anger or be allowed to freely exert themselves in a certain environment, you could say access their inner power, or allow themselves to if they have a lot of suppressed inner anger, maybe be rageful for a little while, but to let themselves really out of the box and go for the movements, and actually as a therapist to exaggerate the movements. If a person's shaking, let them shake more, and until the muscle works itself through the tension. And what will happen is that oftentimes the person will go through, this may take longer than one session of Infinite Bodywork, for instance, my company Infinite Bodywork, but if the person is allowed to do this, oftentimes through the expression of whoever they're angry at or whatever they're angry about, the body being allowed to express itself and being allowed to shake in an exaggerated way, then what will happen is the tension releases from the body and the tension eases and the person is back to being relaxed and the Parkinson's symptoms resolve themselves. And this is so simple. It sounds so simple. How could we not have figured this out? And there are a few therapists who understand this, and great body workers who will allow the body to move the way that it wants. That is how you yourself can heal Parkinson's. If you want more information about this, or you'd like to try to alleviate the symptoms of Parkinson's, I recommend you contact my website, www.lulu.com/Trent Inspires. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this, or you can email me, trentnelsonInspires@hotmail.com. So I hope that answers your question and helps, and thanks for watching this YouTube.